Excellent. Great to see all of you. Well, thank you so much for being here. My name is Annie Pearl, and I am a corporate vice president here at Microsoft. I lead our startups, students, developer relations, and skilling team, and just really excited to be here to close out this 3 days of Build, talking about how we're helping to transform the future of startups with Microsoft AI. So here at Microsoft, we are deeply invested in startups and helping them by providing them with access to cutting-edge AI tools and pairing that with curated resources to streamline the AI development process and really usher in a new era of innovation. So we're going to go deeper into both of these topics with our time together today. But first, a little bit about me and my team. I spent my entire career leading product teams, most recently as Chief Product Officer at multiple growth stage startups. So I'm incredibly passionate about helping startups and helping to provide them with the right tools, technology, resources, and support to be able to build transformational applications across industries, from cybersecurity to healthcare, life sciences, retail, and beyond. And my team is dedicated to helping provide startups with access to cutting-edge AI and cloud offerings combined with personalized support across the entire entrepreneurial journey, from ideation all the way to scale and beyond. And this really starts with the Microsoft for Startup Founders Hub, where we provide founders with access to those tools, technology, resources, and support to be able to build transformational AI applications. And we're going to spend some time later in this talk sharing a little bit more detail about Founders Hub as well. All right, so let's go ahead and dig in. We're going to cover two topics today. First, we're going to talk about how we're helping to provide startups with access to cutting-edge AI tools. You're going to hear directly from several startups about how they're using these tools to be able to ideate, to pivot, and grow their businesses. And then second, we're going to talk about how we're making it even easier to go from idea to AI application and get your product into the hands of those who matter most, which is, of course, your customers. So let's kick off and talk about how we're helping to provide startups with access to cutting-edge AI tools. This really starts with the Microsoft Azure AI Platform. This is a one-stop shop for all of your AI development needs. And we're really excited that we're giving startups the same access to all of the groundbreaking AI tools that you heard about over the last couple of days, from ChatGPT 4.0 all the way to the latest 5.3 models that we talked about over the last 3 days as well. Starting at the top of our stack, we have our Azure AI services. These are really intended to help you get started building quickly, regardless of your model selection. They're pre-built for specific use cases, and they're as easy to use as making an API call, allowing you to get started building really, really quickly. I want to start off by talking about one of the startups in our program, GoodCall, who's using our Azure AI services. GoodCall is an AI-powered phone assistant primarily targeted at small businesses. So to get started, they began using our Azure AI speech recognition to be able to turn phone calls into actionable conversations with speech-to-text, NLP, and text-to-speech. And because this was as easy to use as making an API call, they were able to get this product out to market in less than a week. So let's hear now from Bob Summers, who's the founder of GoodCall, a little bit more about his experience.
Every day, small businesses get tons of phone calls, and on average, they miss 65% of those calls. What happens with GoodCall is that it's able to answer those calls when the business cannot answer. I want to find out if you have something in stock. Can I get a table reservation? So that's like 80% of these repetitive calls that come in. And then beyond that, there's long tail query, which could be like, do you have a corkage fee for wine? Or do you cut hair like curly hair? The reason we chose Microsoft Azure is we did a benchmarking against all of the other providers in the market, looking for conversational quality, latency, and reliability. Benchmark after benchmark, Microsoft just scored incredibly high. In fact, in most of those benchmarks, up to twice as fast. Microsoft was founded by coders for coders, and it's really prevalent when you work with the Azure AI stack. Meaning when you go into the studio, you start selecting models, you get your API keys, you're building before you even know it. That's really exciting for my team. It provides us with efficiency and speed to build a product that is of high production quality for our customers. So my experience with Microsoft for Startups has been really wonderful. Going to the Founders Hub to find all the various resources that we might need. We've had to work with the engineering tech staff to solve like certain challenges and problems, and they've been very receptive and helpful as we've worked through those problems. My number one piece of advice for startup founders, I know you're an engineer, but please don't build code first. Talk to a customer. Always go through the lens of customers before you build, because otherwise you're gonna build something nobody wants.
All right. So as you heard from Bob, testing, experimentation, gathering customer feedback was really important to Good Call. So after they got the first version of their product out there, they gathered feedback and they saw an opportunity to bring more interactivity into their product. So they began working with the second layer of our stack, Azure Machine Learning, to bring interactivity into their product experience, leveraging custom GPTs. And this really allowed them to create a more human-like experience that they could monitor in real time and optimize for performance. So like Good Call, if you're looking to work directly with the models themselves, or you want access to more advanced tooling, you can use Azure Machine Learning to be able to find specialized models as part of our model catalog, to be able to refine your prompts using tools like Prompt Flow. And with our responsible AI dashboard, you can make sure that your model is sufficiently de-risked before you push your product out to production and get it into the hands of your customers. Let's take a look at another startup using Azure Machine Learning. This is Gretel. So Gretel uses synthetic data sets to develop and test AI models without having to compromise privacy. So they used Azure Machine Learning to build auto-scaling and robust access controls for managed data, and they were even able to work with customer data directly using Azure's secure collaboration zones. Let's dive a little bit deeper into how Gretel is using Azure. This is a diagram showing the integration of Gretel synthetic data into a data pipeline using Gretel connectors and workflows with Azure. These workflows take actions like reading from Azure, training the model, writing to cloud storage, and they can be run either manually or as part of more of a kind of automized process. And so this transformed data, it replaces sensitive information like names and addresses with synthetic values that have many of the same characteristics of the original data, which is ideal for data utility, but also for data privacy. So this diagram really shows kind of that ease of automating synthetic data into your model using workflows with Azure. And at the bottom of the stack, we have Azure AI infrastructure. So this is where we let you build using the latest open source or state-of-the-art GPT models with the security, reliability, performance that you would expect out of Azure. And so let's talk about our third startup, Nixa. So Nixa used Azure AI infrastructure to build their TimeGen model, which allows anyone to upload their data to an endpoint deployed in Azure. And this really helps be able to give you access automatically to a time forecast almost immediately. We're really excited to welcome Nixa to the Microsoft Model Catalog, which gives anyone access to their time series model directly from inside Azure AI Studio. So we're going to hear now from Max and Asul, who are the co-founders of Nixa, before we turn it over to Asul for a demo.
I'm CEO and co-founder of Nixa. Nixa means time in Aztec, one of the original languages of Mexico. That's where I was born and raised. Nixa is a time series research and deployment company. What we are doing is bringing the generative AI revolution into data.
Nixa started as an open source company. We developed a lot of different libraries, which are really efficient in terms of computational complexity, but also are really accurate.
So time series research is the systematic approach to try to predict the future, to try to quantify the uncertainty about what's going to happen next. It is used for trying to predict such diverse phenomena as ocean tides, financial markets, and supply chain optimization.
We use a lot of different technologies in the Azure and Microsoft ecosystem. In particular, we need to deploy our model to be accessible for other people. So we used Azure ML to host the model, and in that way, any person can just upload their data, and then you can have the forecast almost immediately.
Microsoft for Startups has helped us a lot. It has opened doors, but we have also had a great support regarding the technological needs that we have as a startup. We firmly believe that Microsoft's strategy regarding artificial intelligence is highly structured and solid.
All right, and with with that, I'd love to welcome to the stage Asul Ramirez, CTO and co-founder of Nixa.
Thank you so much for having us. I'm Asul. I'm CTO and co-founder of Nixa. I'm also a proud Mexican trans woman. And today I'm going to speak about TimeGen 1, which is the first foundational time series model in a public cloud. Satya, in his keynote, released Nixla's TimeGen 1 as a new model as a service in the Azure AI ecosystem. And we were very excited. It was a huge milestone for us. But why foundational time series models are so groundbreaking in our field? As all we know, current models like GPT-4o and Gemini only understand text, image, and video. They are not capable of understanding time series data. And this is very important because at the end of the day, business, institutions, and systems don't speak in text. They speak in numerical data. In particular, in time series data, which is the DNA of the world and help predict everything, from sales to inflation. As all with learning in our society recently, the status quo is not so good, and this also applies in the time series forecasting field. Because before TimeGen 1, practitioners had to train their own models like ARIMA, Prophet, LightGBM, or LSTMs. Also, they had to build and maintain complicated pipelines from data cleaning, perform hyperparameter tuning, perform cross-validation, and model selection. Pre-trained models, foundational time series models, are the solution to this problem. That's why, a year ago, we released TimeGPT-1, the first foundational model for time series. And these kind of models are the next frontier in artificial intelligence because they are capable of understanding time series data and deliver accurate forecast. Today, we are very excited to release with Microsoft TimeGen 1, the first foundational time series model in the cloud. TimeGen 1 is an optimized version of TimeGPT-1 for the Azure cloud. We are doing for numerical data what Mistral and OpenAI did for text. In a nutshell, forecasting and anomaly detection with TimeGen 1 becomes much easier, faster, and more accurate. Here you can see a comparison against Google, Amazon, Salesforce, ServiceNow. TimeGen 1, TimeGPT-1 by Nixla is the best model across different datasets. We will be making publicly available the benchmarks in the next week. So, enough talking, let's write some code. In this demo, I will be using the Nixla SDK for Python. You just have to install it using pip install Nixla. I will be coding in Vim, but of course you can use any other editor you want, for example, Visual Studio Code or Emacs. So let me open Vim, and I'm gonna import some libraries and I'm gonna load some data. Let me do that. Here I'm just importing some libraries, then I'm gonna read some data. In this demo, I will be using electricity dataset. And finally, I'm just going to plot the data. Let's run this. And as you can see, we have electricity prices for 5 different markets in Europe. And of course, if you are in the electricity market, you want to predict the future prices. For example, if you are producing electricity, you want to determine the future forecast. So let's see how we can get those forecasts. Before TimeGen, as I mentioned before, you needed to do a complete pipeline. Let me show you. So you need to import a lot of different libraries, you need to perform different steps, you need to parallelize your workload, and it involves a lot of code, a lot of lines of code. Let's simplify that by using the Nixa client class, which is the bridge between the data and Azure AI. I'm just gonna import the Nixa client from our Nixa library, and I'm gonna instantiate the class. And here is where the magic happens. I'm just going to go to the model catalog. As you can see, TimeGen 1 is already available. You can see the models that we have available. Here is TimeGen 1. In just with one click on deploy, you can deploy TimeGen 1 on your own infrastructure. Here I have a pre-deployed model. Let me copy the URL and also the API key. So we are already authenticated. And just like that, we can start forecasting using the forecast method of the Nixa client class. In this case, I'm going to pass the historic data frame and also the number of steps I want to predict. In this case, one day ahead, which corresponds to 24 hours. Let's run this, and this moment, we will be seeing the forecast generated by TimeGen 1 with just 2 lines of code in less than 5 seconds. We are also, thank you. Thank you so much. We are also very excited because we are launching TimeGen 1 for Excel. So let's predict some sales data using Excel and TimeGen 1. Let's open Excel. Here we have a data set. We have basically the months and also the values of the time series. And here you can select the horizon you want to predict. Here, for example, I'm going to predict 2 years because it is monthly data. I'm just going to click on Make Prediction, and just like that, you have TimeGen 1 forecasted. And as you can see, the model captures the seasonality and the trend in the data. TimeGen also can significantly enhance large language models. You can give ChatGPT the ability to understand time series data and the future to TimeGen 1. Let's see an example. Here we are uploading the forecasts generated by TimeGen 1. We are saying to ChatGPT plot that time series data and also plot the forecast generated by TimeGen 1. And as you can see, we have a similar plot as before. But let's make the things a little bit more complicated. We can start using what-if scenarios. Basically, we want to know the impact of an increase of 5% in the demand over the price. And this is very important because, for example, if you are working with sales data, you can estimate the impact of some promotions. So basically, let's ask ChatGPT using the forecast of TimeGen 1, what will be the effect on the prices of an increase of 5% in the demand. And as you can see here, we can see the original forecast, but also the forecast with that 5% increase. We can ask also ChatGPT what is the exact increase with that 5%. And ChatGPT will give us this data frame to analyze further, and we can have this awesome conclusion. The exact rising price with 5% increase in demand will increase in average the price by 10 euros per megawatt hour. And just like that, we are start dreaming on a real multi-modality world. My name is Asul. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you so much, and happy forecasting.
Thank you, Asul. That was incredible. Like any startup, Nixa started out as just an idea. I know many of you in the audience might be startup founders or aspiring startup founders wondering how you too can build and validate your ideas quickly. Well, the good news is we're making it easier now more than ever to be able to turn your idea into an AI application within a matter of minutes. So we're going to shift now from talking about how we're helping to provide startups with access to cutting-edge AI tools and begin talking about how we're helping to streamline the AI development process. And as I mentioned earlier, this really starts with the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub, where we give startups founders access to all the latest and greatest foundational models, up to $150,000 worth of Azure credits, and unlimited one-on-one technical guidance and business guidance, so we can help you build not only a sustainable product, but also a sustainable business. And over the past year, we've seen a 10x increase in the number of startups building using Microsoft AI. And so to show you how we're making it even easier for you to be able to take an idea and spin up an AI application within a matter of minutes, I want to welcome to the stage Lahini.
Thanks, Annie. My name is Lahini Arunachalam, and I oversee product for the Microsoft for Startups Founders Hub. Open to All Founders Hub gives startups access to Azure credits, personalized guidance, and Microsoft AI tools, including quick start templates to help them build, ship, and iterate on their idea. I'm excited to demonstrate just how easy it is for startups to get started building their AI apps using the Founders Hub. So let's say I'm a startup founder and I have an idea to connect restaurants with their suppliers to help eliminate waste and cut costs. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sign up for the Founders Hub. And I first authenticate with LinkedIn. And then I'm going to provide some information about my idea. After I complete this, I'll submit my application. And once I'm accepted in the Founders Hub, I can go ahead and check out my personalized homepage. I want to get right to building, so I'm going to click Try a Template. And this lands me in the Build with AI experience. This is my one-stop shop to get started with everything I need to build an AI-enabled app. First, I'm going to redeem my Azure credits. This allows me to get started building on Azure for free as I'm building out my startup idea. Then I'm going to request access to Azure OpenAI service to get me the latest GPT models running on Azure. Once this is all set up, I can take a look and explore these quick start templates that are available to me that are designed specifically for startup use cases. I'm going to use this one, which is Launch GPT, an app with your data, because I'm building a chatbot that connects restaurants with their suppliers to help forecast that demand. I can take a look at the template details, including the programming language as well as the AI model that it uses. And I can view additional documentation directly in the GitHub repo. So I can take a look at the Azure architecture as well as the user experience. And it looks like this utilizes Azure Command Line or AZD. So I'm going to go ahead and open up VS Code. In VS Code, the first thing I'm going to do is clone the GitHub repo. This has all the template code. I'm going to initialize AZD and go ahead and authenticate into Azure where I just dropped those free credits. Now, all I do to deploy is actually type in AZD up, and this is going to deploy all of the infrastructure as code, as well as a code sample, directly to my Azure subscription. After a few minutes, this generates an endpoint, so I can go ahead and grab that endpoint and check out my app. So when I go and see the app, I have a chatbot that's built with a GPT model. So that's pretty cool because I was able to deploy this in just a few minutes. So I can tinker around with it, but I need to update this so that it better matches my use case. So I'm going to go back to VS Code. And the first thing I'll do is I'm going to include the restaurant inventory file that I want this chatbot to read. And I'm going to go ahead and make a couple of CSS updates just to better reflect the look and feel of the app that I'm going for. So once I make these simple updates, I'm going to go ahead and save them. And I will just type in AZD up again. And this will redeploy my application. So after a few minutes, I'm going to go back to that endpoint that I had created before and refresh. Now you see I have my updated app. So let's try a custom question. So how many tomatoes do I need tomorrow? And it looks like 10 crates. So this is great. This is a working prototype. And when I'm ready, I can continue to iterate on it, and I can grab the link and actually share it with early advisors or early customers to get the valuable feedback I need as I'm building out my startup idea. Now, I can always go back to the Build with AI experience to continue exploring Azure AI Studio. As I continue to iterate and I want to take a look at the model catalog, I can do so directly from here so that I can refine and continue to use AI in my app in ways that make sense. I can always check out Microsoft Learn for valuable resources I need to continue building on Azure as I continue building out my product. So while my app is in the hands of my customers, I can come back to Founders Hub and continue to build out my company. I can utilize the AI assistant within Founders Hub to help answer questions about my experience with Microsoft. So how do I continue to get more credits so they don't eat into my runway as I continue to build my app? I can also check out all the other great benefits I have access to in addition to Azure. So this includes GitHub Enterprise, LinkedIn benefits to help me on my go-to-market strategy, and M365 for productivity tools. And I know I can get stuck sometimes, so I always have the option to book time one-on-one with Azure advisors and experts from our curated expert network to help me from anything from how do I build this thing on Azure to how do I start thinking about my go-to-market plan. So remember, Founders Hub is available to anyone with just an idea. So we're really looking forward to seeing what everyone will build. Thank you. Now back to you, Annie.
All right, thank you, Lahini. So kind of to close it out, we started off this presentation with me talking about my passion for helping startups and helping to provide them with the right tools and technology, resources, and support to really build transformational solutions across the entire journey from ideation all the way to scale and beyond. And we hope that you took away today some good insights around how we're helping startups by providing them with access to cutting-edge AI tools and how we're pairing that with curated resources to really streamline the AI development process, as you just saw from Lahini. And for those of you in the audience who are startup founders, or maybe you're just tinkering with an idea, we encourage you to use the QR code on the left to access Founders Hub. And your learning journey doesn't have to stop here. For those of you who want to learn more, on the right QR code, you can access startup-specific learning paths within our Microsoft Learn platform as well. And as Lahini said, we can't wait to see what you all build with us. Thank you so much.